Welcome to Beyond the Quo, where we go beyond boundaries, checkboxes, titles, and the expectations to uncover what it truly means to live courageously and lead on purpose. I'm your host, Stacey Luces, executive coach, transformation strategist, and founder of the Living Beyond movement. This show, as you know, was born out of a simple truth. You don't have to settle for a life that only looks successful on paper. You can design one that actually feels successful in your soul. Today's episode is about building legacy through innovation. I'm really excited for my guest today, whom I'll introduce in a moment. But he is a Caribbean-born disruptor who is literally building the digital bridge between culture and commerce. Kadion Preston, welcome.
Thank you, Stacey.
That's awesome. So he is the CEO and co-founder of Caribshopper. This is an e-commerce platform that allows Caribbean merchants to sell globally. I'm coming off script here a little bit because I was just excited to see all of the snacks I grew up with in my childhood, but we'll get back to that in a minute. From Wall Street tech to leading a purpose-driven company that really empowers thousands of small business owners, Kadion is the definition of Beyond the Quo. He has built a movement, one that is culturally rooted in the Caribbean experience, and that means honoring the ingenuity of small island marketers, the intergenerational pride behind every spice, blend, and fabric, and the global power of our Diaspora story. In this episode, we're going to explore how culture can be the competitive edge and the connective tissue of next-gen entrepreneurship. He's also a father, a fierce advocate for tech equity, and if his LinkedIn profile is to be believed, which I hope it is, a connoisseur of fall-off-the-bone barbecue ribs. But behind all that, I believe there is a deeper story of identity, innovation, and integrity for which we will dig very deep and come up with an episode that I'm sure will blow your way. Kadion, thank you once again for taking the time to meet with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure, Stacey.
So we grabbed breakfast this morning, and full confession, on a random Monday morning, I had shrimp and grits. And it was amazing. It was amazing. But tell me a little before we dive into like the business part of this. What's a Caribbean dish that always takes you home?
Soupies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that's my favorite dish since childhood.
That answer came out so quick.
It's easy because it's my favorite dish since childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes me home.
Yeah. What about it though? The feeling, family, all of the above.
I think it's family for sure, and then the feeling, right? I think my household made one of the best soupies ever, and it's a very hearty, comforting meal. Yeah.
I love that. So full confession, I never actually had that until about 2 weekends ago.
Really?
I was visiting friends in Miami, and she ordered it. And I have a very different notion of what soupies is, coming from Trinidad. You're from Jamaica.
Yep.
And blown away.
Yeah.
It was so good. And it was raining. It was thunderstorming down in Miami. I don't know if you remember that afternoon.
I do.
Perfection.
I think
it's like a Monday night or something.
Yep.
It was so good. So yes, I totally get what you're saying. So tell me about Caribshopper. Before we met a couple of months ago, I had never heard of it. Yeah. And so I did a lot of
ode to our marketing team.
I'm telling you, right? This marketing team. But what sparked the idea for Caribshopper? And specifically, was there a problem you kept seeing and felt compelled to solve?
I think it was absolutely. So I think it was a bunch of things that dots started connecting, and those dots made it evidently clear that this is the mission that I wanted to solve, or this is the problem I wanted to solve, and it now became a mission. Number one, I've lived in the US since 1998, and I was fortunate enough to live in different areas.
I see.
When I moved up, I stayed at my aunt's in Brooklyn for like 2 months or a month even, and then moved with my brother in the Bronx. And when I started working, I moved down to Manhattan and couldn't find Caribbean stuff unless you went across the bridge to Brooklyn.
True.
Or, you know, Queens. or the Bronx, right? And then for some time, once my career started going, I was in San Francisco a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Chicago a lot, and access to our products was limited.
Mm-hmm.
And so that started, and that's just a desire.
Mm-hmm.
And then after many years of building technology platforms, and then just really in like 2016, 2017, like really honing in on why commerce hasn't taken off.
Mm-hmm.
And then really going back to my childhood, where my mom was a entrepreneur, or back in the days, they called her a higgler, right? Because she bought and sold. She would buy stuff, bring it back to Jamaica and sell it. Probably the thing I hated the most was seeing my mom pick us up from school, and we'd have to pull up to stores and literally take a suitcase out, and she would sell to stores her stock. And I mean, I remember very vividly the lessons that were learned. And, you know, she moved into different arenas in which she went into children's clothes and then built a successful business from there. But in about 2016, I think friends started having conversations with me about the challenges of the Caribbean products being accessible online.
Sure. Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. And people would come to myself or my brother around building a website for them. And we knew it was more than that.
Yeah. That was only the beginning.
That's just the base level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And with just everything that we've noticed with Caribbean brands really being bold, starting a business. And I think 2010 onwards, we saw a different group of people started being bold enough to make products and push from their local markets. And that ingenuity sparked me being inquisitive to start meeting with manufacturers and having conversations to see what the challenges are. And after understanding it, it was very relatable, and it made me want to break that barrier. And in breaking that barrier, we realized the challenges that were ahead, and we wanted to take it on.
Yeah.
And so here we
a couple
are today.
things I love that you said, and I want to go back to what you said before you answered this, or at the beginning of when you answered this, which was connecting dots, right? I think a lot of people in midlife especially forget that their entire journey a lot of times prepares them for the big leap or the leap into what they're passionate about or what part of their purpose is. And so you mentioned even as a child, your mom kind of being an entrepreneur and being really innovative, and the hustle, right?
The hustle
and the courage it takes to really do things her way.
Yeah.
Still get it done, even with kids in the car, from a suitcase, like that tenacity, right? And then the second thing is, I think even you mentioned being in tech and moving all across the country and observing this void. I think for a lot of us, it's a nostalgia and a connection to our birth countries, which is food, right? And not having clean, clear access to how do I get it, right? It was a luxury. If you stumbled upon a can of ackee, no kidding, right? And then 3, the other cool thing you mentioned was your networks, like pulling in people, having conversations. Hey, did you hear about this? Do you feel this way? What can we do? And building on your competency, but blending it with a cultural kind of perspective that outsiders or people that didn't care about Caribbean food didn't have.
Right.
And using all of those things as time went on to create something unique and different, but also having the wherewithal to test the market.
Yeah.
Right? And know that it wasn't just a website, it's the platform, it's the tech stack.
It's the tech stack.
Tell me some of the challenges that you encountered, both working with your peers doing this and being probably the stick in the sand to get it done. Because I'm sure there was a lot of times people are like, look, man, I don't know if we can do this.
Yeah.
What kind of fortitude does it take that you maybe got from your mom?
It takes that hustle.
Yeah.
Right? And that tenacity.
What does that look like?
It's not being afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm. Say more. What is failure to you?
Failure to me is giving up.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that.
I've seen so many times disappointment sets in and people think that's failure.
Mm-hmm.
And
or rejection, right?
Or rejection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So disappointment, rejection is failure. Mm-hmm. And I'm a true believer that that is no way, shape, or form failure. And the first no is never the last no. Mm-hmm. That's something I live by.
Yeah.
The first no is never the last no.
Yeah.
And so I lived by this. I saw it. Mm-hmm. I saw it play out as a young man when somebody would say, no, I'm not interested. Mm-hmm. Prod a little bit more. Yeah. No, I'm not interested. And prod a little bit more. And watching it happen in front of me and seeing what that prodding, how it opened different areas until it connected.
Yeah.
And the struggle teaches you resilience, right? So growing up in Jamaica, we never had it great. Both parents were hardworking. It was 6 of us in a 2-bedroom when we started out. You know what I mean? And so seeing that, I never took the first no for an answer.
Yeah.
The first no is never.
It became a challenge in a little bit of a way.
And I think
that no became a, I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, I think that's a
that little bit of a rebellious
a setup for tough life. It's a setup for tough life.
Yeah.
It's a real setup for tough life.
Oh man!
Please do not listen to me if you want the soft life.
But listen, I think people confuse hard with hardship. I think a hardship is not having access to any resources. And I think something being hard just means you got to keep digging and looking and applying and testing and trying to, for me, the biggest lesson as an entrepreneur was how to use networks appropriately and effectively and in a genuine manner. And I feel like for the work that you do, which probably involves suppliers, manufacturers, like the whole shebang, what does like a network look like? Those strong relationships. How important is that in the solving some of the hard?
It is absolutely critical. It doesn't happen from just working in a lab and working really hard. It happens from relationships.
Or in your head, right? Like you and you alone.
It happens from the networks that you develop.
Yeah.
And I've been very deliberate about that. I learned that lesson a long time, and I'm happy I learned that lesson. We realized logistics is probably the most key component of unlocking this platform. Literally signed up for a logistic accelerator and, connected with people who knew a lot more than I could possibly know and had years of experience and could tell us exactly.
Avoid all the potholes.
What would need to be done to make this happen.
Yeah.
Right? And to make it happen profitably. And the real pitfalls, like you said. So networks are absolutely critical. And if, again, tenacity comes in play, you might not have that network. How do you go get it? Right? How do you put yourself in a position to get that network? That becomes a deliberate action. That becomes an action where fear is not part of your vocabulary. And it cannot be because you're always walking into something new. And so.
What are 3 strategies for people that have a big network, but it's shallow? Like sometimes it can feel transactional, but what's a way to, because, people do business, we know, with those that they know, like, and trust.
Right.
How do you balance I need it quickly with it takes time to know, like, and trust people?
So you got to be able to establish trust depending on what you want, very quickly and be able to size up something.
I love that.
And if you can't establish it quickly, then you have to take a longer term outlook on the matter.
Okay.
Right? And it can't, and I've always said this, the quickest way to establish trust is give first.
Yeah.
So you walk into a room, offer, give first. Then, people see that genuine area, they understand that there's a reciprocation of that.
Yeah.
Right? Or they want to reciprocate. And then it becomes natural. And so if you're having challenges breaking into a network, give. You'll be surprised what comes back to you. The Bible teaches you that, like every religion teaches you that, right?
Sure.
And so that baseline becomes the premise of where we start. And if you start there at all times, you can only yield fruit.
I want to draw on something that is, I've been interacting with a lot of Caribbean, like top performing professionals recently. And the one thing they almost exclusively have in common is a warmth about them, like a warm-heartedness about even the hardest conversations. Like we could have a conversation where you're like ripped up about it and then crack a joke. And then it's like, it's almost a mindset. It's an approach to life that is rooted in warmth. You know what I mean? How has that, because you have that too, right? Like how has who you are and your upbringing and growing up on an island been a superpower navigating business here and creating bridges for those back home and here, you as a bridge?
It's a very good question. I think it starts out with not having any spoons, right?
Right.
so warmth is a gesture of touch.
Yeah.
Right? And you will have a conversation with many Caribbean people. And you'll hear them and you say, what's your first memory of warmth? And they'll talk about the touch of their grandma or their mom or their father. And the way we live life naturally in the Caribbean, it's a warm environment.
Yeah.
You could be the poorest of the poor. After a hard day's work, you're going to Lime with your friends, your community, and you're going to do something that makes you happy, even on the smallest budget.
Yeah.
And you found a way to be happy, regardless of you have light or you're burning a candle or you have to go to an outhouse or you have no running water, right? We have found ways to find happiness in the most simplest ways. And if you observe that over time, right? All these things that we're programmed to possess probably doesn't bring us as much happiness as those connective tissues. And those connective tissues teaches you warmth as you're growing, right? And it's for you to take that, extrapolate that learning, right? It amazes me when I used to go to the countryside to visit my grandma in the summertime, how simplistic life was and how happy people were.
Yeah.
I found that they were more happy than us living in Kingston, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about me and my cousins getting buckets and going down the hill to catch water to come up. That wasn't the case at home. We enjoyed the hell out of that, right?
Right.
And it was a simplistic way.
It was so good.
Right?
Yeah. It was eating a mango without a plate or a knife and fork, and you just ripping the skin off, and the stupid juice is like running down your arm and messy, but like those are core freaking memories, right?
Core memories.
Memories. I love what you said about extrapolating the way that we use that building connective tissue to show up more authentically. I mean, the three things I talk about here, however I dress it up, are redefining success on your own terms. I mean, even what you mentioned about the simplest things, right? Brought you so much more happiness than, the Benz.
Right.
I mean, that brings happiness too, don't get me wrong, right? The other thing is how to live authentically, which has to do with, I will speak for myself, but I will also say I've interviewed a lot of people and coached a lot of people, and a lot of living authentically is still a work in progress for a lot of us, especially when we came from different countries and had to sort of figure things out on the fly, and you didn't have time to grieve, and you were sort of just, you had to jump in and just swim, right?
Right.
So it's like, how do I survive and thrive? Who's doing it best? And I'm just gonna be like more like that, right?
Right.
And then how now in our 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, we want to reclaim part of us that is innately us and bring that to all avenues. It's not just being one way at home with your family and then going into corporate or the business arena and being different, code switching as we call it, right? And then the third thing is this concept of leading courageously, which very much has nothing to do with leading in a boardroom or a company, but some of the things you just talked about, like leading yourself first in a way that is values driven, community oriented, family oriented, trusting in the support system that you had, even as children, and then letting that bleed out into other parts of your life. How do you lead courageously, starting with self and then family and then community and then big enterprises like what you do? Like those things really, that trifecta for me, winning recipe, right? What do you think success means to you now? In the traditional sense that you've had to walk away from, because you're doing something completely different than when you started in tech, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And that was deliberate.
Yes.
For me, success meaning owning my definition.
Yeah.
It's not defined by anybody else. And being able to proudly say this was my mark.
Yeah. You birthed this.
In this life.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do because we're all modeled, right? I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and it was like, we didn't understand the influence of TV on us in the early 80s, that every young man thought that and no disrespect to anybody, but blonde hair, blue eyes, long hair was the definition of beauty, right? It went so far left from what was beautiful in front of us, right? Because it was modeled. Magazines, TV, everything. It's not until you understood yourself and you got to an age like, no, that's not my type. My type is X. Yeah. And I like this. Yeah. And because of this reason. Yeah. And that understanding comes with time. And so I guess my age made me realize, like, okay, I can be defined by Wall Street. I can be defined by
car you drive, house you have, title.
Car you drive, neighborhood, where your kid goes to school, or you can understand your own definitions, right? And make those decisions because it's your life.
And I don't know that people understand how powerful reclaiming yourself and your version and definition of success, like the personal power that comes with that. When you understand what your core values are and what your boundaries are and what you're trying to do in the world, and most importantly, who you surround yourself with on this journey, which entails sometimes cutting some people off or distancing yourself from them. That's a hard thing for many people, because there's also, and I'll take it back to some of our long-standing relationships in our lives. That connective tissue holds us hostage sometimes to truly do the things we need to do to be who we need to be.
Right.
That sense of loyalty and obligation, right?
False sense of loyalty.
Yeah.
Like, what are you loyal to?
Mm-hmm.
Are you loyal to a title?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you loyal to a relationship?
Yeah.
Right? Again, growth.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from there. Yeah.
So I like to talk also about our legacy, right? Part of which is our kids. So
Sure.
I've got Alyssa is 18, heading off to college. Still navigating my feelings on that. My son's Adam just turned 15. So he's also, he started a leadership academy thing this summer and wants to learn to drive and a lot more independent in a vocal, like testosterone driven way, right? Very different from, I grew up with a lot of girls. But you've got 3 kids. Tell me a little bit about how your even definition of what a successful parent looks like has had to evolve from your upbringing or our traditional version of what parents kind of a little bit command control.
Right.
I say you do.
Yep.
Right. How is that? How are you leading the charge in that situation?
So one of the things that's different from how I was parented is freedom of speech with respect.
Love that.
So respect stays at the forefront.
Sure.
But your voice must be heard.
Mm-hmm.
That was a turning point, right? Because
yeah, man. Listen, we grew up seen, not heard.
So
speak until spoken to, right?
Or be careful what you say.
Yeah. Woo.
And sometimes the communication could be everything. Everybody goes to disrespect very quickly. Very quickly.
Even if it's not.
Yeah. And you have to really stay composed for a second, think, rehear what was said.
Yeah.
Not because of who's saying it.
Break that pattern in your own head.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And understand it and support who your children really are. They're not you.
Oh, so hard for some of us.
Oh my God.
It doesn't even matter what country you grew up in, if American, Canadian, it doesn't matter. They are not ours to command, yeah.
So the beautiful thing about being in this generation, Gen X, you got a chance to see both sides.
Right.
And you are actually living in...
You and I are a year apart age-wise.
Yeah.
And yes, so we are on the crux of Y and X, even that. Yeah. And growing up with boomers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got to see a big shift.
Yeah.
And we also got information overload. Remember, growing up, it was encyclopedias.
Bro, we were scrappy.
Yeah.
We had to change quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember VHS tapes. Cassette, Walkman, remember? Everybody walking around with that. I mean, right? Now now your phone is your everything.
Yeah. And so if your parenting skills haven't improved from what you were taught, you're not listening.
Yeah.
You're not learning. You're not trying to grow.
Yeah. You're stagnant.
Yeah, you're stagnant. You're holding on to what the model you saw. You're not seeing where the model can be improved. If the model can be improved,
bro, and that model didn't even work well. A lot of us are freaking on doing some of the conditioning still.
I think those conditioning, I respectfully, we might disagree on this, which is fine. I think because we're imperfect, there's always going to be that conditioning, that model.
Yeah. Some of it worked. I mean, not all of it
worked.
Yeah. Not all of it was.
And we got to be able to take the good from it.
I mean, the hardworking part of it, the having tenacity, right? Like that's one of the things I observe with the younger generation. Even coming out of corporate a couple of years ago, I did a lot of hiring. And there was always this conversation. We had at one point, I think 5 generations working at the department. I worked at the Department of Homeland Security. And it's hard. They manage conflict differently, communicate differently, accept rewards and recognition differently. They care about different monetary incentives. Some of them that doesn't work. They want time and more vacation time. And so even with our children, navigating on that micro level, some of those things right? What's the incentive to do homework?
Right.
What is the right way to push to get you to be more disciplined about whatever? You know, I find myself still wobbly on some of that because I want to be authoritative, right? Because we quote unquote know better. But navigating that has certainly, for me, been interesting. And I know for a lot of the people I talk to in our age group, parenting young adults is the work because it's a reparenting of ourselves too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your growth is going to dictate how great of a parent you are.
What do you want for your kids?
Happiness. That was easy.
Yeah.
I don't care about titles. Like I've always told them, I want you doing whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
And that's so cliche for most people. But I think it's, and when they ask me, what's that look like? I go, you have to be rewarded.
Yeah.
You have to feel rewarded. So whatever you're doing, you should be happy that you're doing it for whatever the reasons are. And number two, I don't care if it makes you wealthy or you live a normal life. You have to, those parameters are dictated by your spending habits, is dictated by the lifestyle you're trying to live or want
There's
to
consequences,
live.
right? Yeah.
So do it for the right reasons. Don't do anything for me. I have no other requirements other than you doing your best and doing what you value. And so I think the thing where our parents didn't know is how to keep providing leverage to our kids along their journey so they get to their outcomes faster. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping that I have all the time to do.
I really love that. And you know, one of the ways I do that now is to ask more questions, better questions.
Yeah.
And that's an adventure in and of itself.
Yeah.
And asking better questions and being genuinely neutral about the responses, like not having maybe I have an inside judgment, but a neutrality about what is going on with them and what they need and what their friends are talking about. And even watching some of these series, as painful as they are, that talk about the challenges that this generation is having, changes the way that I show up in the world. And I can't imagine for them not having parents that are open to that level of self-reflection and, you know, willingness to just be wrong and vulnerable ourselves. I don't know about you, but Gen X, we grew up on nails. Vulnerability was like,
it was a no-no.
It was a no-no.
It's weakness.
And so going away from that and leaning into vulnerability as a strength has been amazing for me, but it didn't come easy at all.
Oh, it's tough as hell.
Yeah, right?
It is. It still is work. I don't think I've cleared that work yet.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast, okay? Talk to me about leadership. Like, what does leadership mean to you now in the spaces that you're in and the work that you want to do in the future?
Such an interesting question because I'm questioning my leadership lately, personally.
Tell us.
You know, I always thought leadership was setting the right vision, leading by example, executing the goal and accountability on the team and being supportive and helping people to grow. And I'm now questioning my leadership style, if I am the right leader. And it's very interesting because I'm deep down that hallway right now.
What does that feel like?
Vulnerable as hell. Vulnerable as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, even what you just said takes a lot of courage.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a courageous thing to be in the depths of that level of reflection, even to say that after a certain time, birthing a vision and a dream for something that is in flight. As the captain, am I the right one to guide the plane into the next level of growth or acceleration, right? Like that takes a freaking like big level of confidence to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're being hard on yourself, I'm looking at it in a different perspective.
I don't think I'm being hard. I'm really trying to either be confident in my thought process or be clear. Actually, not confident. I'm trying to be clear.
Like have clarity about it.
I want to have clarity on it. Yeah.
Yeah. What would be like some good outcomes?
The best outcome would be that I'm clear on if I am the right person or if there is somebody better.
And what is your vision for the work that you do? This thing that you've built.
The vision, sometimes when I tell people it's quite interesting, but the vision is that when I'm long and gone from here, that any Caribbean woman, man that wants to create something has a bridge to get it out to the world.
Yeah.
And never has to think about that part of it. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody built ships and now we know how to get things across the world. Somebody built planes. Yeah. And then somebody now, for me, different parts of the world, they're able to build a whole network and a stack that allows for their producers to scale. That's what we're trying to build here. And that's what we're trying to leave behind.
That's such a powerful dream.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to leave behind.
Yeah. I like the simplicity of it, but also the potential, right?
Right.
Because when you think of the global Caribbean diaspora spend or economic power, it's just under 200 billion globally.
Ooh, it's a bigger number than I have.
Dropping some stats.
Share my stats. Share those stats. Share those stats.
All right. So that kind of, I was going to ask about like legacy and if Caribshopper achieves everything you dream of, what changes for the Caribbean diaspora globally? And I think you just kind of answered that.
Answered it.
But anything else you want to add to that? Because here's a insight I feel like I have is we get scared right before the leap. People get nervous about failure. And I think people like you having felt that fear and you did it anyway. Like, what do you say to the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the people that are on that precipice where they are, what if it blows up and I'm just not going to do it, or I'm not going to do it as big or be as brave as you just were saying what you want this thing to be? What do you say to the people holding back?
So what?
I love that. Yeah.
So what if it blows up?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
The worst could happen. Somebody laugh at you and you laugh back.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, man, right?
Have you never fallen at yourself? Like, have you never had a mishap?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? I mean, we hold ourselves way too high. And sometimes that is the biggest chain that we have to remove.
Yeah. It's a setback.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so apparent. Like in the Caribbean, we face different things and not to get philosophical, but...
Nah, man, we get philosophical a lot here.
Colonialism is still...
rampant.
Mentally.
Yeah, man. I was just talking about that the other day.
Mental slavery is still in effect.
Yeah.
And it chains us. It's even in, I'll go somewhere and the difference in how I'm treated versus a Caucasian is treated, I'm like, he's still there. He's still there.
I have a good friend of mine. She is a doctor. She lives in Connecticut. She's at Harvard University Hospital. Big deal. And Trinidadian, and went home to deliver a couple of seminars on things that she created. Yeah. She created it. She engineered it. She went home to present it to a board and took a younger, somebody that literally works for her, Caucasian guy, white guy. And they were deferring to him the whole time. And we talked about it quite a bit. And, she had some stuff to work through around that, like her reaction and how to move forward and the be the bigger person kind of syndrome. Like, I'll just let it go or whatever. But I do think you're absolutely right. Like, to some extent, that is a thing that we grapple with subconsciously or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, the simple answer, everybody wants to give like a long statement, but why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think it and you have analyzed it.
Don't analyze it to death.
Yeah.
Well, you said to me not so long ago, we're in our own way sometimes.
100%. 100%. 100%. It's me against me.
Yes, man.
It's me against me.
So we like to also leave people with some strategies, right? What are 1 or 2 rituals you can't live without?
Planning.
How does your planning look?
It's specific on the day.
Yeah. Well, you and I have a big thing in common. We have the white paper on the wall.
Absolutely.
Bro, when I saw that, I was like, this is my people.
I live for the whiteboard.
I am very visual.
Yeah, man.
And I put it where I can see it, and I walk up to it every morning. I literally circle it.
Yeah.
And it's like a Rubik's Cube to me.
Yep.
What needs to happen?
I think my brain works really, really well.
Yeah.
When I start putting it on paper and like decoding it.
Yeah.
It's my own way of like.
I don't know if you ever watched Minority Reports with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
And he had the thing, it was high tech at the time, but he had all the different screens like in the air almost.
Yep,
and he was just, that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah, that's my whiteboard for sure.
Yeah.
And I have a physical version of that.
I saw it. I still want to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky for you, I bought it for you.
No, you didn't.
I swear I did.
No, you didn't. I still think about it, and I've been looking at it. So you plan.
Yeah. So
tell me a personal ritual, like to keep Kadion
rounded.
Yeah. Getting better at that, or you have some things?
You fall off the wagon so many times.
Yeah.
You pick back up. The interesting thing that I've always gone back to over the years is taking my win off the table first. So
explain what that means.
So I can't control anything on the outside.
Sure.
Outside of me.
Outside of your circle of influence.
Right.
Yeah.
My ritual to start my day is always to take my win off the table. And what that means in whatever season of life I'm in, it could mean going to work out in the morning. It could mean sticking to a discipline that I want to do for myself. In this season is fasting.
Yeah.
It's my win.
Yes.
I did it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens
That's
for the
your
day,
integrity and commitment with yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
I love
my
that.
reminder of discipline. And so I've always found that the foundation of success is discipline.
Yeah.
And so I will constantly do things that reinforce that I can do hard things.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. Like, I am going to go to the extreme to prove that I can do hard things.
Listen, it's you against you,
Because it reinforces when I really have to do hard things.
Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine, we were talking, and I said, every year I try to jump off a 40-foot cliff. And he goes, why? I said, because I'm scared of heights, and I'm not going to let that fear conquer me. And we do it. And I really try and get that done every single year.
So listen.
And every single year, it's the same 4 seconds
Yes.
at Rick's Cafe, just like thinking it through. I got this.
Boom.
I have to do this.
Yes.
And I do it.
So full confession, I can't swim. I can swim in my pool so I don't drown. But ocean and all that stuff, I still can't. When I was about 12 or 13, almost drowned. It was a whole to do. So I have a real fear in the ocean of drowning. And it still has never stopped me. The ocean is my favorite place in the world. But I went to Jamaica last year and we were on a cruise and it was a 30-foot something. And everybody was jumping off. I told you I can't swim, but I had a life vest on and I was not going to do it. But just what you said about, I wanted to, I had to prove it to me because I knew that coming up on my horizon were going to be way harder things.
Yeah.
Way harder things.
Yeah.
And my son looked at me and he's like, Mom, you've got this. Bro, I jumped off. I jumped off that cliff. Fall. Hit the ice cold water in Jamaica. What was the name of the thing? I'll remember like later on. Went all the way down. And I was like, oh shit. But of course, I'm wearing a vest. Float back up to the top and started going downstream. And the guy was there to help me and stuff. I am not Christian, but in that freaking moment, it felt like a rebirth.
Nice.
It felt like I had done something so fearless.
Nice.
And after that, oh my God, I was stuck in a rebrand.
Cleared it out.
Bro, when I came home, boom, boom, boom. This is what I want to do, how I want to do it. Boom. So there is so much power in what we're discussing here, which is feeling that fear, hesitation. And so what? I'm going to just do it. I love that. Biggest lesson running Caribshopper has taught you?
Oof. Biggest lesson. A pause because there's so many. And I'm thinking about the one I should share because it would actually be the biggest lesson. Interestingly, I'll share this. I'll share the story. Since starting Caribshopper, we have faced so many challenges.
Yeah. I bet.
So many. And it's disappointments. Some of those disappointments, we should have locked up shop and done with.
Roll out.
Like,
go on home and eat some stew peas.
Peace out.
Right.
I'm going to go back.
I'm done. I'm going to 9 to 5 and be happy.
Chill out.
Yeah, man.
And for some reason, during those times, my relentlessness kicks in to not knowing how we're going to make it through and somehow making it through.
Yeah.
Whatever the ways are. And then going on then here comes a cliff and facing it. And so we've faced
your 40-foot drop.
Yeah, we've faced a couple 40-foot drops. And we surpassed them. And sometimes I wonder if I shouldn't have surpassed them. I should have let it die. Because I won't know what is going to be the outcome at the end of the story. The story is being written.
I think.
And so my biggest lesson is trusting, faith, and not leaning on your own understanding. And so for some people, it's their belief in God that carries them through things. For some people, it's their belief in self.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's a combination of both. I think for me, it's a combination of both. And knowing when to listen to that, to block out all the noise and listen to that voice and what that voice looks like.
Yeah. I call that the God voice. Yeah. I call that intuition where that knowing, and you don't have any reason to have that knowing.
Right.
But you got to learn to trust it more and more, especially in some of the things you're going to be up against when you are building things that nobody has built before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest lesson.
Yeah.
There are other lessons, but that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. We're done. You want to go another hour?
It's an hour already?
Yeah.
Wow, it's just getting started.
This was amazing.
This was good.
Thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability, your heart, and sharing with, I'm sure we're both going to share these with our different networks, but I do think for Caribbean entrepreneurs, this is important because a lot of these lessons, we have to be able to extrapolate some of these strategies quickly because the recipe for success, the straightforward way, sometimes doesn't apply to us.
So I got a question for you before we...
Oh no, are you interviewing me?
Hey, it happens. It happens. You're very deliberate. Since I met you, you've been very deliberate about everything that I've noticed so far. Why are you doing this podcast?
Not everybody can afford me. And I still believe that the people I have on, I curate them. I get to pick who comes on my podcast. Right? Nobody is by happenstance. I like people that have had some hard things happen to them and they've come out on the other side. And I want to be able to showcase and amplify that in my way. I think too, many people think that midlife is this end of the road bullshit. And I died and came back. And part of my mission is, we're just getting started. So I almost have Trinidad, we say we have a don't care attitude. I almost have a don't care attitude about whether or not this is everybody's jam anymore. And I decided I couldn't find what I needed, the voices I needed in the way that I needed it to be heard or said, or the level of vulnerability I was looking for. So I created something that was beyond the status quo, beyond the quo.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is this your give back or your teaching?
I think both. I think it teaches me every episode something. So selfishly, I like that. Right? This isn't all altruistic.
Yep.
But I believe if I can, to use your word, extrapolate and connect dots for people, it will help them immensely in ways that we can't even fathom.
Got it.
Hopefully that answers your question.
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. All right. So 4 takeaways from this podcast, this episode. Innovation rooted in identity. Kadion didn't just build Caribshopper as a tech solution. I believe it's a cultural reclamation project. Purpose over profit. Scaling a company is hard, but scaling impact requires intention. I think that your North Star is legacy. And I think that people that build for a purpose higher than themselves have won, regardless of what the end game is, right? Whether we get to see it or not. Solving from the inside. True innovation comes from deeply understanding the community you serve, not just surveying them or questioning them. And leadership is personal. Whether you're raising capital or raising kids, the way that you show up matters. And I think Kadion has shown us that he does model with integrity. And a lot of that springs from our upbringing, our Caribbean rootedness. And so how we seed that out into the globe is up to us, right? That's a sense of responsibility. So before you go, I think this is your reminder. I always say you're not too late. You're not behind. You're just one bold decision away from building what only you can build. And the only way you get to build that your way is by using all of the experiences that you have had that have led you to this place. If Kadion's story moves you, please share this episode with someone who needs to hear this and who needs to be reminded that the gap between culture and commerce can be closed if you're bold enough to build it. Kadion, please tell people where they can find you and Caribshopper.
Sure. So Caribshopper is www.caribshopper.com. Mm-hmm. And it's at Caribshopper on Instagram, Facebook, and I think TikTok.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn also.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm at Kadion P everywhere.
Good. And if you're jonesing for a catch or a nuggle, or in my husband's case, some red mango.
Or if you're jonesing for authentic spices, products.
Yes.
The whole 9 yards.
Please check them out.
Absolutely.
Don't be like us 30 years ago, struggling to find one little thing in the places that we are.
You don't have to pack up the suitcases
anymore. Yeah. And if you're a purpose-driven leader ready to move beyond the quo, let's connect. Visit stacylucis.com or find me on LinkedIn at stacy.lucis. Thanks, everyone, and catch you next week.